Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Whatever time of day it is, where you are. So, I am reading different things every once in a while, and I wanted to talk about a upcoming documentary, if you want to call it that, by a guy named Louis Theroux. I think I'm pronouncing his name correctly. So it's a documentary on what's called the manosphere. And it appears like it's going to be a hit piece and a smear campaign. Now, not like an official campaign, but more like a vilifying slant against anybody who claims has a claim to the manosphere, red pill, or anything like that. So this article was written by Stylist UK. I think that's a magazine. So just reading the article. So Louis Theroux is back with a new documentary, and it promises to be a much-needed deep dive into the key figures behind the extreme views being circulated in the manosphere. It's one not to miss. So I do plan on seeing it. It comes out on the 11th of this month. That's in a few days. I just figured I'd talk about it right now because there's a lot of talk from people who are lashing out against people who are tired of being lied to, essentially, and being raised a certain way that's not leading to any sense of self. So you've got people growing up very confused about how the world is because they're told about how the world is not. You're not just going to ask a lady out and she instantly says yes, and you skip and tiptoe through the tulips together, and it's all ice cream and lollipops and sunshine and rainbows. It just doesn't work that way. It's never worked that way. And trying to give people good advice, helpful advice, to live the best life they can. If you think that's toxic, I'm sorry, you're part of the problem. You are part of the problem. And I'm afraid it's documentaries like this that lead to the mainstream ideas that this is correct, spelled with a K, correct groupthink. Right? This is not rooted in any type of reality. It's intellectually dishonest, and it just paints over everything with a broad stroke. It's not honest at all. So at a time when I'm just going to go read in the article. At a time when incel culture is on the rise, whatever that means, and almost a third of Gen Z boys believe a return to traditional gender roles would have a positive effect on society, Louis Theroux's new documentary, Inside the Manosphere, can't come soon enough. In the 90-minute film, Theroux meets with some of the men behind the manosphere, the digital space on blogs, forums, and social media that promote misogyny and share views that oppose feminism, who are shaping the next generation of minds, and especially boys, about what modern masculinity looks like. This will see Theroux immerse himself in the ecosystem of toxic masculinity as he discovers the red pill language and unpacks why these dangerous ideologies are so appealing to young men and boys. He also speaks to creators and influencers in Miami, New York, and Marbella at the extreme end of this global men's rights movement, including Harrison Sullivan, Myron Gaines, Nicholas Ken, D. Balanthese. I know him by Sneeko. Most people know him by Sneeko. Justin Waller and Ed Matthews. Not only does he offer an insight into their views, but he also discusses the views of women in their lives who appear to support their defiant stances on masculinity and feminism. It comes a year after the release of Netflix's three-part series, Adolescence, and this documentary looks to be just as eye-opening and culturally significant as it explores, in a real-world scenario, how easily children can be influenced and radicalized via the consumption of online content. While this documentary was filmed before Adolescence, it will continue an important conversation about how social media platforms such as Meta, TikTok, Snapchat, and X leave young people vulnerable to influential figures and their dangerous views. A study by King's College, London's Policy Institute, and Global Institute for Women's Leadership found that 1 in 6 men aged 16 and over thought that feminism did more harm than good. And another study discovered that it can take as little as 8 minutes for children to be exposed to harmful content online that they haven't consented to. It's more important than ever to challenge the hatred and violence towards women that has grown in these subgroups while an epidemic of violence against women continues. According to the femicide census, one woman has killed on average every 3 days by a man. People's editing skills just... Really? You're not going to catch that? I'm telling you. This whole thing about who you hire and just so many slip-ups. I'm not saying slip-ups never existed, but to the degree they are now, it's just crazy. One woman was killed on average every 3 days. I'm not one woman has killed. Has killed what? Just grammar, messing it up. Sorry. Understanding why this misogyny is growing at such rapid and enduring rate is pivotal to countering the far-right movement and finding more equality and encouraging fewer divisive views around feminism and masculinity between men and women. All conversations around gender and self-identity, including masculinity and femininity, are incredibly nuanced, and the only way for them to ever coexist is with respect and without one being at the expense of the other. Hopefully, this documentary will continue to shed light on how toxic masculinity is affecting men and women and shaping society for future generations. Perhaps it might encourage us to build a less divisive, repressive, and hateful future for everyone. I've got multiple points of contention with this article, and I'm probably going to have more with the documentary, which I do plan on watching just to see what I can say about it. So, first of all, there's a mention to incel culture. Just exactly what is that? Other than a broad stroke and newspeak of something that's unacceptable. Okay? That's the only thing that word entails, in my honest opinion. So, a third of Gen Z boys believe a return to traditional gender roles would have a positive effect on society. Okay, so how would it have a negative effect? They're not bringing evidence. They're just saying, oh, manosphere this, manosphere that, manosphere this, manosphere that. Shut up. Shut up. Positive claims require positive evidence. If you're going to say something, back it up. If you're going to call me something, show me how I am. Exhibits, right? Point something out. Point something out that I said. Point something out that I did. Independently verify that it's true. Objectively verify that it's true. To the point where somebody else can pick up on it and say, yep, that's the case. Yep, that's the case. Okay, now you have evidence. And then I might very well be what you say I am. But if you're saying I'm part of incel culture, if you're saying I'm part of this toxic crap, just shut up. That which is presented without evidence may be dismissed without evidence. Okay? That's how it works. You make a claim, it's on you to provide evidence for that claim, not for me to disprove it. So it's a 90-minute film. Thankfully, it's not going to be that long. I hopefully I can make it through the entire 90 minutes without rage quitting. But oh yeah, see, I'm so filled with rage and hate. No, I'm not. So Thoreau meets with some of the men behind the manosphere. Okay, so you're cherry picking some of these men. You know, I'm honestly very shocked that they didn't mention a certain retired kickboxer that was arrested for certain things and is very, very outspoken, probably too much so. Okay. And debatably, I think he's a bit off of his rocker, okay? But I'm surprised he wasn't mentioned in this article because anytime somebody says red pill manosphere, his name just gets splattered everywhere. And it's like, come on. It's not one guy, it's not one thing, okay? Just because people like to talk about how things really are and how you can adjust to live the best life you can under the set of circumstances that exist, that doesn't make sense, right? But I'm surprised his name wasn't mentioned. But they did mention a few names, and you know, honestly, I I don't like any of them too much. Okay. Now the only exception would be Myron Gaines. I do like the guy, but you got to take it in doses because he has a very specific message and he has a very specific way of dealing with knowledge and a very specific way of communicating that knowledge to other people. I think his head's in the right place. I think his heart's in the right place. It's just tactfully speaking what he's trying to convey, right? The other guys, I don't know them too much. Harrison Sullivan, not too familiar. Myron Gaines, I already mentioned him. Nicholas Sneeko. Yeah, Sneeko, I think he's a bit of a tool, honestly. Justin Waller, Ed Matthews. I think Justin Waller, I'm not too familiar with them either. Okay, but the ones that I am familiar with, they didn't make this list, which is very curious to me. I don't think I would ever be on this list. Number one, I'm not well known enough yet, but at the same time, a lot of people that have helpful advice, and I would probably be lumped along right next to these guys and accused of the same things that they're accusing these guys of. It's like the way we convey our message, it's not making its way into a hit piece. Like, I didn't see Rollo Tomasi in there anywhere. I didn't see Aaron Clarey in there either. But, you know, it's like they picked the names that are the most divisive. They picked the names that are the most extreme with their views. Now, I don't think Myron Gaines is extreme with his views, but he definitely can come across that way. I understand it, but it's crazy. So, digital space on blogs, forums, and social media that promote misogyny. Where? What is hateful towards women about helping men become better men so that they can be in a healthy, loving relationship with a significant other? What's so toxic about that? What's so dangerous about that? How does it promote hatred towards women? Which is what misogyny is. Okay? There's a dictionary. Use it. Use it. Try it sometime before you go ahead and want to call somebody names. Misogyny. Most people that throw these words out, they have no idea what they mean. They don't even start there. And they're just going to say the words, splatter them everywhere like some modern art masterpiece by throwing a gallon of paint against the wall. Sorry, it's not appealing. Your art sucks. Okay? Let's just face it. it's not a modern art masterpiece. And I don't necessarily disagree that a lot of these digital spaces share views that oppose feminism. Personally, I don't like it, okay? And yes, everybody's shaping the next generations of minds, okay? It's called being a human being. We pass on culture, we pass on knowledge. At least if we have a conscience. At least if we want this world to be a better place. Yes, we teach people things. How groundbreaking is that? Oh, wow, what a novel idea. We teach other people things? Wow. Is that what these are? These books? Wow. Wow. They're shaping the next generation of minds. Who would have ever thought about that? Oh, and especially boys, because we can't teach boys things, right? Because that's toxic. Get out of here. We're teaching girls things too, okay? What we're teaching is you're not evil just because of what you... The dongle between your legs. We're not saying, oh, you're evil because you've got that. You're evil if you're a Christian. You're evil if you're this. You're evil if you're that. I'm done with it. It's absolutely stupid. Okay? But yes, oh my goodness, people are teaching boys about what masculinity looks like. I don't agree at all with the part of the article that says, you know, they're shaping the next generation of minds, especially boys, about what modern masculinity looks like. No. 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 Do you know what modern masculinity looks like? Modern masculinity, the way the media would have you believe it, is you're subservient to women, okay? You basically have to get married to them. You have to do everything. And since they don't cook, clean, still get the ring, you're cooking and cleaning, right? You have to listen to her nagging all the time. You basically have to be the king of queens, all right? You basically have to be a Doug Heffernan. You basically have to be a Home Improvement. You basically have to be Tim Allen there, right? And deal with tantrums. And you have to like it. That's what modern masculinity is. That's what they want us to be, okay? And I'm not on board with that. I've never been on board with that, okay? So if you want to have boundaries, if you want to have self-esteem, if you want to have any sort of agency in your own life and your own destiny, and you understand that no one's coming to save you, you have to stand on your own 2 feet, you have to carve a path in your life worthy of a woman coming along and joining you in this journey. Why is that hateful? Why is that toxic? To try to pass on knowledge so that a man can become something that a woman wants to be with. I'm sorry, that benefits women as well as men. It benefits a woman. It doesn't hurt them. And it's damn sure not hateful towards women. I will never understand that. Okay? So, moving on in the article, it says he's going to immerse himself in the ecosystem, whatever that means, of toxic masculinity. Notice that there's no mention of anybody in the red pill or the manosphere doing any good. And I did another video on this where I Google searched red pill and I Google searched manosphere. And if you don't believe that there is a slant in one direction in mainstream media, mainstream articles, mainstream search engines, if you do not recognize that there is a slant with how you get your information when you make a query on the interwebs, when you ask any question about something, you're going to get met with one side. Almost exclusively, you're going to get met with one side. And that's not the case. It's not the case. So there's not one mention of any good that's coming of it. But if you look at a lot of young men that are still with us, okay, they've walked up to certain people who are authors, content creators, and said, you know what? Because of you, I did not self-delete. Because of you, I'm now starting to go on dates. I feel good about myself. I lost 100 pounds, right? The list goes on and on. Is that toxic? Honestly. Answer me honestly. Is that toxic? No, it's not. No, it's not. And this ecosystem of alleged toxic masculinity, he discovers the red pill language. There's no red pill language. There's no red pill language. If you're going to talk about specific language and like certain terms, there are other places for that. Like LTR means long-term relationship. ONS means one night stand. HB7 means hot body 7 on a like 1 to 10 scale by rating women and their looks, okay? I'm not advocating for any of these definitions or saying they're good or bad or whatever. They're words, like the dictionary. A word does not have a morality scale attached to it. They're inert. Now, if you speak certain words to somebody, sure, you can convey a very hateful message. You can convey a very ignorant message, an aggressive message, and in some cases an evil message. Yes, words can be delivered with power, okay? But ultimately, a word by itself doesn't mean anything unless until it's spoken, okay? So red pill language. And he unpacks why these dangerous ideologies are so appealing to young men and boys. Okay, so it's appealing to be able to have the confidence to walk up to a cute young lady and get her number. It's appealing to a young boy to walk into a room of other boys or young men, or men in general, and to shake hands and to be treated with respect. To learn skills and develop yourself as a man to the point where you're able to earn the respect of other men. It's appealing to a young man or a boy to do that, as well it should be. It's appealing to a young man or a boy not to lose every time they try something. Especially if it's like a rigged game stacked against you, like online dating, okay? It's rigged the same way casinos are rigged. Fight me on that. I'll do another video on that. But it's appealing to a young man or a boy to be successful in life. And when certain lies are parroted over and over and over about how you're going to enjoy a good life if you're just nice, if you're just being yourself, if you just be confident, if you just believe hard enough. No, that's not how reality works. And a lot of these content creators, not the ones that this article mentions, okay, but with the exception of Myron Gaines, okay, but those content creators, they're appealing to young men and boys because, well, even older men that wish they had known this stuff when they were growing up. They don't want to grow up browbeaten by some shrew, right? They want to live a good life. So it's appealing when somebody's not blowing sunshine and rainbows up where things don't normally shine. On a base level, a lot of guys know it's like, why is the ad? Why is this advertisement done this way? Kind of makes you feel like you're this big. Oh, it's because you aren't this big. That's another thing, right? It's funny when those jokes are told. But if we tell any joke at the expense of someone because of their gender, and it's not a joke about a man, oh, it's not funny, it's terrible, the world, it's an article like this. Get out of here. Get out of here. We're done. We've had enough of it. And so, is it any surprise that content creators like this, like yours truly, is it any wonder we're wanting to talk about it? Is it any wonder? No, it really isn't. So, he also speaks to creators and influences. Okay, so those are those names. Okay, also discusses the views of the women in their lives. Okay, I don't know anything about the women in these content creators' lives. Myron Gaines, next to nothing about the woman in his life, if there is one. Okay, now his partner, Fresh, or Walter, as the guy from Barbados, right? He living the American dream, doing real estate deals, multimillionaire, owns 2 Lamborghinis. Okay, he's hyper successful, even though he wasn't born in the CONUS. He really made something of himself. Okay, now his story with a lady, it's like he's not a perfect guy. Okay, people make mistakes. All right, and he's not running from a mistake or hiding a mistake. All right. I'm not saying that the kid he has is a mistake. I'm not saying that the woman he dated and got in a motherly way was a mistake. Okay? I'm not that guy. It's not for me to judge what he did wrong. Okay? Which is clearly what this Louis Theroux, is doing with all these content creators. I don't even know, so I'm not speaking about him. But the women in the lives of the content creators that I follow and I'm familiar with, okay, they're in good, long-term, healthy relationships. I'm in a good, long-term, healthy relationship, okay? And I wouldn't have got there if I hadn't learned skills that just weren't taught to me when I was growing up. And there was nothing toxic about it. The only thing that was toxic about it was me not knowing and me continuing to be a victim of my own circumstance and not getting out of my own head and getting out there and trying things in the real world. Because that's how you're going to improve, is getting out there in the real world. Not believing everything that these wackos spoon feed to you to where you're almost addicted to it and all the rage baiting. As long as they're batting for your team, oh yeah, they must be right. It's such an intellectually dishonest way to live, okay? And I certainly don't ever want to live that way. If I'm wrong, you point it out to me. Tell me exactly what I said that was wrong. Tell me exactly what I'm doing that's wrong. Bring evidence, okay? Don't just say, oh, you're a big buffoon, okay? Well, you're a big goon. Oh, well, you're a loon. Oh, well, you're an overdressed fop. Oh, you're an overdressed fop? Oh, okay, well, I don't like your beard. That makes you stupid. Bring the evidence. What, did the person fail every single test they took? Okay, they might be slightly stupid then. Okay? but stupid because they have a beard, or because I like long distance hole punchers, that means I'm far right on everything. And that gets brought up in the article too, which I totally have a big point of contention. Because you don't have to be to the right or to the left to be in the manosphere. There's nothing. It's like saying anybody who owns a gun wears a MAGA hat. It's not true. Okay? An aunt and uncle that I have are retired educators, and they both have guns. And I'm pretty safe, I think, in guessing that almost any major or local election they voted Democrat. And they don't have guns for hunting either, because they don't hunt. They keep guns in their house for protection. Retired educators. It's not true, okay? So just because one thing is a fact for a person does not mean that you know all these other things about a person and that you're going to be able to make a morality judgment against them. It's like calling people goose steppers and followers of Thin Mustache Man. Okay? The Yahtzees or Nazis, okay? Calling somebody that just because of something you disagree with. That is dangerous, okay? When you vilify somebody like that, it's intellectually dishonest, and it's like, okay, it's no longer a disagreement at that point. It is this person's evil for their views, okay? It's not just a disagreement, but it is a morality judgment against somebody. And this is pretty much the new religion. Like, it's not so much Christianity and atheism going toe to toe. It's stuff like this now. Like, politics, in my opinion, is the new religion. People are just so driven by politics, like everything. Like, sure, to a certain extent, everything's political. I've been told that since I was knee-high to the grasshopper. Okay? But to the point we've radicalized things, it's just ridiculous. So, they say that the documentary looks to be set just as eye-opening, culturally significant as it explores real-world scenario, how easily children... Okay, so children influenced by radicalized... Like they're influenced and radicalized because of the consumption of online content. So basically what we're saying is our kids are stupid and gullible and malleable and have no capacity for critical thinking. Let's assume that's true for a second. Let's assume for a second that children have no mental fortitude, that they'll believe anything they hear, and they're not capable of critical thinking. So, if a child is not capable of critical thinking, and they're stupid, it's like, articles like this, people miss the hidden language there. It's like, oh, think of the children. Okay, well, if your child can't critically think, whose fault is that? Think about it. If your child believes everything they hear, and they can be so easily swayed, whose fault is that? Once again, it's like whoever's responsible for it just has to dodge the accountability. It's always somebody else's fault. You know, I'm perfect. Everybody I deal with is perfect, and everybody else is wrong. So, platforms such as Meta, TikTok, Snapchat, and X leave young people vulnerable to influential figures and their dangerous views. Okay. So, that goes with anything. Once again, anything. Anything you hear, okay, could potentially be a dangerous view, huh? It's like, We can't have a kid looking at how to build an engine because he's going to run it into something or he's going to hurt himself. You can't have a kid look at videos of long distance hole punchers because they might learn how to safely handle them. Or you can't have a video about chopping wood because a kid's going to hurt themselves. How about being involved in your children's lives and teaching them? What a novel idea. Raise your darn kids. If you're so concerned about what your children are doing, why don't you do some of those things with your children? Get involved in their lives. How about that? Instead of saying, oh, my kid's going to get influenced by this. Are you even involved in your child's life? Honestly. And then here we go with the women's thing, not just children. Now we're spinning it this way. A study of King's College London's Policy Institute Global Institute for Women's Leadership found that 1 in 6 men aged 16 and over thought that feminism did more harm than good. Well, it's about time. It's the pendulum swinging back and forth. That's all that is. Because until the language of men bad and the media portrayal of men not being so much as capable on a base level to the point of being able to tie their shoes without a woman's approval or a woman's help, I am exaggerating. And I am waxing hyperbolic, okay? I fully admit that. But you get my point. Until that stops, you're gonna see a rise and you're gonna see an uptick in male content creators. And you're just gonna have to deal with it. Because I ain't going nowhere. Unless, of course, I'm censored to oblivion. Which, whatever. I'll just find some other avenue. I'll find some other platform. Because we're not going to be quiet about this kind of stuff. Because feminism has not been quiet about it. Okay? It's like the Democratic Party right now. It's crazy. We need that other side of the argument. The rational side of the argument. We need discourse, right? We need to be able to disagree. And more importantly, in disagreeing, come to an agreement on certain things. That's how we thrive as a society. Because if I'm unchecked by everything and everybody agrees with me, we have a weak society. It's going to be very weak. Okay? So one side's been pushing this way, pushing. Are you really surprised there's going to be a pushback the other way? And there's a doubling down on things that are sensationalized. There's a doubling down on things that are irrational and quite frankly harmful. And they're ineffective. It's just making people look like whinging toddlers that scream and contort their bodies when you say, okay, it's time for bed. And they're screaming like banshees. We don't need those people. We need the strong Democrats with, the other views. And here I am politicizing it, but it's only because it's politicized in this article. It's not just, Republicans or far right that need examples of strong masculinity, of positive masculine influence, of a positive masculine presence in the lives of others, and to label it as not positive, to label it as toxic. That's dangerous. And we're quite done with it. So take as little as 8 minutes for children to be exposed to harmful content online. Okay, so leave your children unsupervised again. Why? Do you not know what your children are up to, what they're doing? You must not be a very good parent. And I will say that. I will die on that hill. Nothing makes me angrier than what people do or don't do with their children. It's like, You have children and now you don't show any responsibility for that child. No sense of pride in passing on knowledge and wisdom. But yet you're still going to be concerned about where they're getting knowledge and wisdom from. Get involved. And then they say epidemic of violence against women. You want to see an epidemic of violence against women? Go to some other countries. Okay? And even then, most people don't even consider it violence against women. Okay? We just have no clue in Western culture how the rest of the world is. I am appalled about how much people don't know. Once again, it's free. You can read dang books. You can go online and research just about anything you want. Well, maybe not research as in a scientific sense, but you can read about things. And you can stop being so dang ignorant of how a lot of countries work or don't work. Okay? And they don't mention where they get the statistics from. And they don't mention specifics of what's toxic about certain content creators. I'm really chomping at the bit to find out what specific points are addressed in this documentary about the manosphere. And then the paragraph, understanding why this misogyny is growing at such a rapid and enduring rate, is pivotal to countering the far right movement. Okay, so everybody far right, or everybody that didn't vote far left, is a misogynist. And any woman that voted a certain way in an election that happened, any woman that voted a certain way, she has internalized misogyny. Is that the best you can do? An unreasoned argument? Without citing sources? Without bringing evidence? Do you know what the word means? The hatred and or contempt of women. There is nothing misogynistic about wanting to be a better man so that you can be in a loving relationship with a woman. How is that hating women? How is it hating women to want to be the best man you can be for a woman to benefit her? Riddle me that. Riddle me that. And to call it far right, get out of here. Movement. Like it's a movement. No, people just are sick of being lied to, and they want to stop pandering to people that parrot these things that are just not true at all, right? All conversations around gender and self-identity, including masculinity and femininity, are incredibly nuanced. Well, yeah, they're nuanced, because people are afraid to say something that they're thinking. They're afraid to say it, because you're going to get somebody else's feelings hurt. The sun is bright. You can't stare at it. You can get sunburned. You can swim in the ocean and drown. There's other jerks out there that might do something to you and commit a crime. The world is not all sunshine and rainbows, specifically designed and catered to you and every little thing you could ever want. That's not how the world works. So of course it's nuanced, because eventually the truth comes out. Eventually people want to talk about what's on their mind, and they want to say what's on their mind. I hate it when men are portrayed in the media as bumbling idiots unless a woman's telling them what to do. I'm not okay with that. So what do? They stop buying things. They stop subscribing to certain media outlets. They stop watching. They stop listening. They tune out. That's why you got so many guys just not going out anymore. They're playing video games. They're doing this. They're doing that. They're doing anything to get their mind off of the situation. Because anytime they speak about it, they get met with stuff like the stuff that's written in this article. Oh, you hate women. You hate people. You're mean. You're nasty. And they're sick of hearing it. Just for having an opinion that's not hateful. Just for wanting to share what's on their mind. Saying, hey, I'd really like to be with a lady, and, I'd like to have a family and everything. Oh, how colonialistic of him. How misogynist. Whatever. Spare me. We're sick of hearing it. And this documentary, I hope it flops. Now, of course, I'm going to help it by giving it a view, but I'm going to do a book report on it. I'm going to do a book report on it. And not all book reports have to be a 5-star review and saying how great it is. That's another problem with our society right now. We're so afraid to be critical and to have a spine. And we embolden people who do make unreasonable arguments. And this happens on both sides of the fence. I was going after the left pretty hard, but now I'm going after both. You can't reason yourself out of a position you didn't reason yourself into. And that is what's happening on both sides of the aisle, flinging dirt at each other. It's like, oh, it's rage bait. Oh, well, we're going to do a hit piece on this person because they're stupid. Okay, fine, they're stupid. What about the other people that are level-headed? You don't hear about them ever. We need to hear the reasoned arguments. We need to hear the intelligent people and not just the raging from someone who just happens to be a popular figurehead. The figureheads get all the attention, right? If you paint your hair like a parrot and then you throw yourself on the floor and you scream at people and you throw things and you just have a megaphone and you yell it in other people's faces, okay, that gets plenty of attention. But it's rage. That's all it is. It's rage bait. And this documentary isn't a documentary. It's a hit piece and it's rage bait. And I'm pointing it out for what it is. And maybe I'll change my mind after watching it. I highly doubt it. Because it doesn't look like it's a balanced look at the manosphere or red pill at all. It looks like they've drawn the target and they're going to draw an impact right in the middle of the bullseye and say, hey, I won. That's probably what's going to happen. So hopefully this documentary will continue to shed light, but not on how toxic masculinity is affecting men and women, but how anything masculine must necessarily be toxic, right? And shaping society for future generations. Avoid people like this. Avoid viewpoints like that. Right? I hope we are encouraged to build a less divisive, repressive, and hateful future for everyone. I do. And that must mean I'm not part of the manosphere and not part of the red pill or part of any of these male improvement mediums. It must mean I have nothing to do with them because I want what's best for people. Because if I was part of the manosphere or red pill, that would make me a misogynist and all the other things, which I'm clearly not. If I was a misogynist, I would not be living with a woman. I wouldn't be wanting to put a ring on her finger. Okay? So get real. And stop flinging these names around like you know what they mean. You don't even know what they mean. Shut up. I'm done. I'm done.